Welcome to the Barkada Podcast. We have a special treat for you guys today. We're here with three of my favorite people to go to a wedding with. Most times. We got Spike, Marlee, and Andy. What's up, friends?
How's it going?
Happy to be
Good.
here.
Are you, though?
I thought so.
You guys hear everything okay in the headphones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, let's have a conversation how like Neverfilms started and all that fun stuff. So why don't we just kind of introduce ourselves to the people so they kind of get a little bit familiar with who we are and what we do.
Each of our roles.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Spike Carpenter. We started Neverfilms LLC back in 2015.
I'm Marlee Misko. Do I have to say my last name?
If you want.
I'm Marlee Misko.
As you already did.
Yes.
And edit. No.
I'm I don't know. What, your lackey? lead editor. Yeah, for Neverfilms.
Yeah.
Started also back in 2015.
Yep. I'm Andy Torno, and I'm a cinematographer. And I did do some editing, but now you guys kind of have it under wraps now, so not really mess with that. But but yeah.
So yeah, how did you get into like wanting to do Neverfilms and everything?
Back in 2015.
Wait. No, it goes before that. You have to talk about like
All of our
balling
stuff
with the
back in high
babysitters.
school.
Oh,
and
gosh.
It goes
Yeah.
way further back than
I
that.
suppose so. I was born in 1986. No. Growing up, I loved movies as a kid. Was always watching them, creating scenes with my action figures and doing make-believe with friends in the neighborhood and creating scenes from movies and being the characters. And I think even way back then, now that I think of it, I was kind of directing scenes with all of those friends of mine in the neighborhood. And so it's always been a passion of mine just to kind of tell stories through acting. And then as I got older, into college, Andy and I got an interest in silent movies, actually. And from that, we ended up making an amateur silent film in college, which we spent all 4 years.
That was 4 years.
Oh, it took us 4 years.
I almost flunked a couple classes because we put so much time and effort into making that movie that I ended up turning one of my grades around because I was like, all right, we filmed it and made everything happen, but I had to go back and put my effort into class, but I skipped so many classes just to make
That's
that
not
work. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, was it worth it?
Absolutely. I mean, it was an experience. Like, we always watch it, we look back on it, we're like, oh, we could have done so many things better, but like, for where we were and what we were doing and what we had to work with resource-wise, I think we did an awesome job.
Because what were you filming on at that point?
Oh, mini DV. Sony mini DV back then. Yeah, you had to
What was the form factor on that? Was it like, did it fit in your hand or?
smaller than the form factor of the cameras we use to film weddings now.
And
Yeah.
we didn't have anybody that was actually filming either. We would hit record and then we would do our scene, so we didn't know what
Yeah.
was actually happening.
Yeah.
Like if it was in focus or not, or
I mean, when I said amateur film, it was
Yeah.
amateur.
yeah.
You know?
And we did silent because we didn't have audio equipment, so that was one of the reasons we did silent.
Right.
And my
Yeah.
foot made an appearance.
That's true.
That's my
Yeah.
Yep.
only part of me that's in.
How old were you at the time? 9 or 10?
Yeah, 10. Yeah, like 10.
And we made you do some camera work and
Yep, had to do some
Extra
camera
work.
work. We had to.
You helped with lighting too, right? Up in
yep.
in the barn.
in the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got locked out of your aunt's house.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Yeah. We had like break a window to get in.
Yeah.
Not like an actual glass window, but like a screen window.
Yeah.
I think that was sort of the early formation of our love for making videos and telling stories visually. There was a little break after that, but we did a couple of things here and there, just fun videos for college projects, or if my nephew had a school project for elementary or middle school, we would kind of jump in and help out in that way. But then there was nothing that was too serious. But then around 2014, 2015, we knew that we had a camcorder and we had some of the gear to do something a little bit bigger. And a friend of mine asked if we could film her wedding. We didn't know what we were doing at all. But it was fun. It was just great to, one of the best things about, I think you would probably agree with this, about filming a wedding is you get to be there on arguably one of the best days of a couple's lives. And it's, a party from start to finish. And to be able to capture all that emotion is just, there's nothing better.
Yeah, and going back to that wedding, our friends Frank and Sarah, right? That was the wedding you're speaking of, right?
Oh,
That
or is there another one?
There was one before that.
There were a few before that.
Oh, okay.
There were a few before that, but the one for Frank and Sarah. Hi, if you're watching. Thank you for trusting in us to travel with you. We went to Mexico, which was a big deal for us back then. That was 2015, and we
Worst trip of my life. No, that's not true. It was very fun. We had a really good time.
Yeah, I think we over prepared.
We definitely over prepared.
I remember going through the airports with just loads and loads
so
of
much
equipment,
luggage,
and
oh my goodness.
Now if you did it now, we would
pare that down.
We'd pare it down and simplify
maybe 3
it. You don't travel
cases.
with everything in the kitchen
Yeah.
sink. But it was just a good experience on how to tell a story visually. We had a whole week with them. So it was large scale for us at the time.
We had never done anything even close to that at that point.
No.
That large scale.
No. So that was the start, though. That was the first big one that, we were in charge of turning that into something, and I think they enjoyed it. We had a blast filming it, and since then we've fallen in love with making wedding films.
Was your wedding before theirs or after?
Yeah, I got married in 2013.
So it was before. Okay.
Yep. And my good friend Mark Dexter and his crew at Simply Love filmed my wedding, and
The reception was up here.
Yeah, the reception was up here.
It was
Yeah.
right
It was right. Yep.
Yep. And I think watching them do what they did back then, to my knowledge, they were one of the first videographers in this area, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To at least do it for a prolonged amount of time. And I just watched how much fun they had filming our wedding. And so, I think it was just inevitable that we would turn our love for making these amateur type narrative films into something that you can actually market to the public. So that appealed to us, obviously. And
Yeah. Just trying to put a finger on like how our friendship evolved. Like we've known each other through like mutual friends and stuff. Like I think for quite some time, just being from town and stuff. And then when you guys wanted to do your reception here, we kind of reconnected then. And then really Frank and Sarah's wedding was kind of what sold it. At least for me on wanting to be a part of it.
Yes.
I remember having that we were sitting at like a bar within the resort, and I remember having the conversation, all 3 of us, about you like joining the team, and that was the first time I had ever met you. But yeah, I have a very distinct memory of us sitting at that bar and you being like, yeah, I think I want to get into this. I think I want to do this. And that's like when everything kind of came together.
Because the cool part was, they had their wedding in Mexico, and then they did their reception at Nancy's place in Stone Harbor, right?
yes.
And that's when you had the debut of that film, right?
Yeah.
Or
yep.
did they see it beforehand, or was that the very first time that they saw it?
I believe that was the first time they saw it. I know it was because I was working on it right up until that day. That was a lesson in how to prioritize your time and edit efficiently. It was go time from the second we got back into the States to their reception at Stone Harbor. Yeah. And I remember I was on my way there. I think I was driving there, and you had texted me and said if you need any help shooting at their reception, because we were going to add footage of that into the mix later on, that you would be there to help, and that was kind of the start of your involvement of the whole thing.
Yep. Whether or not you got some good footage from me, I don't know. But I mean, I think it goes to show like how far along like we've all come along as a team, and just our knowledge like if we could tell ourselves from how many years ago is that now? What year is this?
I'm like 7, 8 years.
It's coming up on about 8 years.
Yeah, when I think 2015, I'm like, oh, that's like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and
right? It's nuts.
So much longer. Going to be on our 10th anniversary soon.
Yeah. But I think, the kind of flow in the team and like just the way that we approach like wedding days now is it's a lot more fun now.
Yeah. Well, because everybody kind of knows their part. We have such a solid system down.
It always has been fun, but
yeah. Oh yeah. But I would say it's less stressful now than
Well, I remember the initial scare of going from Panasonic to
Sony.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, this is going to be, it's kind of throwing a wrench into the machine here. And then we learned it, and it was amazing. Like, it actually went pretty easy.
Actually, I think I have an easier time with the Sonys than I ever did with the Panasonics.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
yeah,
that's been good. It was a good change
but
for us.
it was a good tool. I mean, it was a great camera for us to learn from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It kind of made Sony seem like, oh yeah.
And that's a good point. A lot of people watching this are probably not going to understand the difference between some of these cameras we're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, back in 2013 when I got married and Simply Love shot my wedding film, that was right around the boom of DSLRs becoming viable tools to make these short wedding films. And it went from the camcorder look that we used to produce when we started and did the Gold Bug in college.
JVC too, remember filming some weddings with that?
Yeah, but these mini DV cameras were not interchangeable lens systems, so you didn't have the same look as a real movie does. But the second that Canon developed the 5D Mark II, I think it was on from there, because now in that small form factor, which was a lot more affordable than getting a cinema camera, certainly. Now you're talking, okay, I can afford one or maybe two of these, and I can walk up to a wedding and do something super special and make it look, bigger than ever before with what you were capable with doing, a camcorder type of system, mini DV.
Yeah.
And I think that actually made the boom for wedding because even, in the early 2010s, I feel like wedding films weren't as much of a thing as
they weren't prioritized.
Yeah, they weren't a priority. Or, if they were going to have a wedding film, it was like Grandpa Joe in the back with a dinky camera, which, is fine, serves its purpose. But, real professional films, wedding films didn't come about until those cameras were introduced. So.
Yeah, and certainly not here. And
definitely
certainly
not
in the Midwest.
Not.
It was much slower to take off here. It's still, we're 2023 now, and we still get a lot of brides coming to us saying, my wedding is in 6 months, and someone told me, hey, did you book a videographer? And it's just sort of still one of those things that's slow to catch on a little bit. Certainly photographers are higher on the vendor list for most couples, which is understandable. But it's slowly improving, I think.
Yeah.
People are becoming a little bit more aware of that we're out there.
I would say so.
So what's our pitch? Like when we're approaching a couple or they're kind of on the fence about like, I don't know if I want this or not, like what's the big selling point on Neverfilms or just having a videographer there in general?
Well, my thing that I always tell the couple, and not to sound morbid, but but the people that end up in your video, being able to see them and hear them, someday those people are not going to be in your life anymore. And to still, a picture is great, but to be able to actually hear their voice and, have that memory, see the movement and just actually feel the emotion. I don't know. I feel like that's...
You're like encapsulating time,
yeah.
And you're saving that for those people. And like, it's always cool to film weddings and try to I know we always talk about going at it from how can we capture this day to where people might not have seen it this way, but also have seen it, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you're a part of it and the family and all that kind of stuff, but they don't get to sit there and look at how we view flowers and rings and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's interesting that we have that perspective on how to capture the day and turn it into something that they're going to remember forever.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is we've had so many couples tell us, oh, my wedding day went by in such a blur because, the nerves and you're trying to plan everything, make sure everything goes just right. A lot of the times it just feels like the day flies by and you miss so much of it. To have a video to show you what was actually going on throughout the day, like the parts that you may have missed, you're never going to get that day back. So that's really cool to be able to watch that over.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I think we actually give them an opportunity to really enjoy themselves because we have a thing, we call hero shots where we just spend time with the couple alone, right? Just to kind of create some more content for, our films and stuff. But really, like you said, if they're not kind of setting aside at that time, it really does get lost. And then it's just kind of like, well, what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
Obviously for each other, but...
Right.
Right. Well, it's not like anybody who's had a film done dislikes it. It's always one of those things where it's like some people might be on the fence about it, where they're like, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to have a wedding film," and then we do it and they love it.
Right.
So I think that's always a good thing, where it's like we were talking about, like encapsulating time and stuff like that, and like saving that kind of stuff. Like to me, I think that's super special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, and that's a huge reason why we made the name that we did, Neverfilms, which a lot of people hear and they're a little thrown off by it. They think we never film anything. We will be there on your wedding day to film it. Do not worry. The reason that we chose the name Neverfilms is I am a Peter Pan fan. I love the story of Peter and Wendy. The one part about that book that really stuck with me was just the freezing of time. And as I got older and we got into the idea of making wedding films, and especially when we made The Gold Bug in college, now we can watch that thing and see ourselves 10 years younger than we are now. And certainly we'll watch it in another 10 years, and soon it'll be 50 years later, and we'll be able to see ourselves at that age forever. A lot of my favorite films are older, and it was just interesting, as I got older and you age and things change and people start looking different, and you look back on photographs when you're younger and whatnot, and it's just amazing to capture that time in a bottle. And so Neverfilms, the name just kind of sort of came from that idea of how making a film is like taking your actors and putting them in Neverland forever, right? So all of these wedding films that we do might not seem, maybe as special to the couple when we deliver the film, but certainly in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years when they've got kids and their kids have kids and they pass that film down, it becomes
an amazing thing to go back to and watch.
Certainly. Yeah. It becomes priceless at that point. So that is one of the things we try to explain to couples is you're going to love your film right away, but you're really going to treasure that film immensely in the years to come, and it's going to get better.
It's really more of a long-term investment.
It is.
Yeah.
I like that. Well, films or wedding films aren't the only things that we do. We've dabbled a little bit, right? We had a friend, the Stinsons, Penelope. We did their what would you call it? I guess
Poppy.
Newborn film.
The newborn film.
film.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and that was kind of that was the first one we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting all the shots and stuff prior to that was rather easy. But then when it came like closer to like Penelope's or Poppy's due date, like that was we were like always on call. But what did you have going on the day before that you couldn't be there? I know.
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
I was up in Door County during the Fall 50, and I remember calling Heather on that Friday, heading out there. I'm like, hey, so how are things going? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm starting to feel some stuff, but don't worry, I'm gonna make sure that I'm just gonna be in bed and just calm myself down and not let anything happen until both of you guys are available or someone's available to come and film. And then it just so happened to work out that, we're cruising back down from Door County on that Sunday, and it just worked out.
Yeah, I mean, newborn films are tricky.
Yeah.
But I think from the beginning, our mindset for going into this business of videography certainly wasn't just to pigeonhole ourselves as wedding filmmakers. It was to become lifestyle filmmakers, meaning that you can hire us to film your wedding, and it'll be a great experience, but you don't have to forget about us after that, because there are all sorts of other milestones that happen in our lives where I think in this day and age, I suppose you take out your phone and you make a little video, maybe a minute long, 2 minutes long, but those sorts of things get buried throughout time, with all of the other photos and whatnot that you take. And when you hire someone like us to film things like the birth of a child, the birthdays, the graduation parties, the engagements, the
gender reveal parties.
The gender reveal parties, those are fun.
Yeah.
We just actually got hired to shoot a prom highlight video,
which is going to be
up in Door
awesome.
County, which we're super excited about. These are moments that I think back in the 80s, when Uncle Jim had his VHS camcorder, you did film those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And then I think somewhere in the middle,
Got
in the
lost.
digital age, we kind of forgot to film them the right way. Phones are great, right? Phones are handy, and you can pull them out wherever and film, anything that happens in an instant. But I don't think they're quite there yet to make things look as special as some of the cameras that we use.
Yeah, and so many things get lost in your camera roll.
Right.
I have so many things that I don't go back and look at anymore because there's just so much, because it's so easy to pull out your phone and take a photo or take a video.
Right.
You're doing it all the time, and things just get kind of buried.
And to get back to your question about how we sort of sell ourselves to our clients is we certainly say, listen, if you want to hire us for your wedding, that's great. If that's all you ever want to hire us for, that's fine. But just know that there are all sorts of other opportunities to get all of these important memories on camera and edited in such a way that it really makes the emotions come alive. And we use a website called Mediazilla, which early on we actually invested in. They did a Kickstarter campaign back in about 2014, 2015, and we invested in their idea, which was sort of, discs were sort of transitioning out, which they still are hanging around, but streaming obviously has become the more popular way to ingest, media these days. But they came up with the idea that the experience of putting a Blu-ray disc in is great. You have a menu.
Yep.
You have a scene selection option where you can go through and pick the special feature that you want to watch. So we saw the value in that, and once we invested in that, our idea was we would love to have your wedding film, the birth of your children, their birthday parties, whatever event you want filmed throughout your life. Maybe it's just filming a day in the life of your family, which we've done.
Have done that.
We've done a couple of those, and those are wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's not usually a thing that most families think about doing. Like I said, you film a shot here and there, little moments, but when you put all those moments together in such a way that it brings that emotion out, it becomes even more special. And that's what our idea was with Mediazilla, was to have all of these major life moments readily available on this nice menu for you so that you can click through all of the different years that you've enjoyed together as a family.
Yeah, the Burnt Family film, that's one of my favorites too.
That was a really fun one to film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time. And, it turned out so special. Really, it wasn't like, quote unquote, a special event. It was just a summer, and we picked a few days to just go and hang out with them as a family. And it just turned out so cool. I love that one.
And those are things that people are doing with photographers, right? They're saying it's not you're not taking my senior pictures, maybe your photos. You're not taking wedding photos. Just do a family shoot every year. A lot of people do that, and that's very popular. And I think it's also important to start maybe thinking that way in terms of video too.
Yeah, because that adds that extra element of sound and movement that you don't quite get with a photo. Like, obviously the photos are important too, but
I cry every time I watch the burn film.
Yeah, I do too. Every single time.
It's not even my family,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's just
Same.
oozing with emotion, and you know, and
those kids are never going to be that age again.
No, they won't.
You know, and kids grow so fast. So to be able to again freeze time for them like that,
off to Neverland.
yes,
Yeah.
That last shot of them
holding hands.
I know Nick was saying was his favorite, and he said it'll always be. It's going to make me choke up saying it now, but it'll be burned in his memory forever of them standing on that log by the lake as the waves are coming in, and they're just looking out, holding hands together, and
Yeah, that was a great shot.
you know, it's
very powerful.
that kind of stuff. Sometimes it happens organically, and you capture it as a parent. And that's the other thing too. When you hire someone like us to come in and film these important moments, that takes the burden off of you, and you can be present and not have to worry about taking your camera out at all. We can take care of that for you, and you can enjoy the event or the memory in that specific time frame, or you can choose to watch it again and again and again.
Yeah, man, I need you to come along on our next family trip.
Just pack us in your luggage. We'll be there.
But seriously, that's really not that crazy. So if anybody needs a crew to follow them on their family vacation,
Yeah,
That could be a
we
thing.
would totally go.
we've done a wedding out in Mexico, right? And then the other destination that we've done together was out in Moab in Utah. That was a lot of fun for
That was really cool.
Lydia and Elle, right?
That was a fantastic trip.
Yeah, that was an
wonderful.
amazing trip. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite experiences ever.
And I think it's interesting also that they hadn't been thinking of a videographer for their wedding at all. I may have persuaded them to let us come along. Thank you guys so much for agreeing to do that. I know for a little while there they were thinking, do we really need, because they don't like to go overboard on things, and they're very humble people, and I just they wanted to just have a quiet wedding, and there I was in the corner saying, but please, like, come on,
You need a video.
come on, let's.
Check out this place. I booked it for you.
Yeah. I think they enjoyed it. I hope they did. Their film is great. I love watching it still to
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And it certainly they had a great photographer who we made friends with there, and their photos were excellent. But it's also great to see all the emotions in motion.
And that was probably the best place. That was the best place to fly a drone too.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nothing
It's
around.
beautiful.
You weren't worried about hitting anything.
Right.
Yep.
Speaking of Katie and the Mole's wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yep.
And when we filmed Stephen Lindsay's wedding, remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh yeah.
I had the goggles on and Spike was flying the drone, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh, this isn't going in the right area. And it just crashed into a tree.
Yeah.
I forgot that the goggles used to be a
I fly
thing.
safer now. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, upgrades to technology, man, we went from having 2 people to man, a drone with goggles.
Yeah.
And then now we just, go solo and make sure that
Yeah.
someone's
And a
like,
lot of that stuff turns out pretty awesome too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. That's another sell for us too, I think, is that I am personally certified, FAA certified to fly a drone, and a lot of people are, but there are some videographers out there that are not, and they're not telling you that. And the downside to that is they might get the most amazing shots of your, multi-acre property or the ocean by your adventure destination wedding, and it might look great in your film, but at some point, if they get caught, and that footage has to be taken down, well, that as the couple, that's a little bit annoying, I suppose, to have your film taken offline because of that. So that's one thing we like to tell clients is that when we think it's right to get some aerial footage, and oftentimes it is, if it's going to add to the story, we'll fly it, and we are certified to do so.
Yep. +1 for Neverfilms.
That's right.
I was going to say the other thing I think that sells us that we didn't touch on yet is the fact that we've all been doing this together since 2015.
Like a cohesive team.
Like a cohesive team. Yeah, it really has not moved much. It's kind of been the 4 of us from the beginning, which I think that at least a lot of places around here that I've seen don't really have that. You know, they do a lot of subcontracting and things of that nature. So
Yeah, it's
pretty
more
cool.
of a wholesome
Yeah.
type of idea. And I think we take a lot of pride in that too. We always talk about that. Where, you know, we love filming that kind of stuff, and we take it very serious, and we just have a good connection. Our chemistry with everything is great.
Yeah, I mean, we can roll up to a wedding nowadays, and we don't really have to go over the game plan because
Everybody knows
we
the
just
game.
kinda know what
We've
we're
just-
doing, yeah.
yeah.
take your equipment and you're off, and you know what to get.
Right.
We know weddings like the back of our hand now after doing this for so many years. And like you said, because we are either family, Marlee's my niece, or friends, good friends for a long time, I think, you know, when we do want to improve and when we do want to give constructive criticism to each other, you take it to heart more, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier to approach each other because we're family and close friends to say, hey, maybe try this. Like, oh, I really like what you did there, but maybe go try this. And then it's like, oh, I don't think I did so great on that. And maybe I don't want to let the team down, especially because they're friends and family.
Yep.
Right.
I'm going to go and redo that shot.
It's coming from a place of like honesty and like, you know, we appreciate the art of actually filming. So if somebody's like, you know, this wasn't right, this is how you can make it better, I don't think anybody takes it personal. It's like, oh, we can make it better, then I'm all on board with that.
Yeah, and we're not just doing it for the paycheck. We're doing it because we
100%.
enjoy doing this with each other,
Yep.
and we want to get better.
That's a hard concept to explain to our couples.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the price tag is a tough subject. It is a huge investment. It's not cheap. But to explain to them why the price is the way it is a tough conversation to have. But one of those things that I do let them know is, listen, your wedding is safe with us. We cross our T's, we dot our I's, we cover all of our bases because we've been doing it so long, and we've been doing it as this team that has been together since 2015. So I think that is a plus for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of you don't see, you know, the behind the scenes and stuff that happen, but I think we've grown so much,
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
from the beginning, and like our processes and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, there are times where we run into some roadblocks, but you know, we kind of learn from it and we get better.
Right. And I think that's always been a part of our like culture with Neverfilms, is always trying to be better, always doing, you know, going to that next echelon of like, how can we be better? And like, you know, it is about producing a product for the customers that we want to give them something awesome, but we also want to do something that we're happy with too. You know, so it's like I think we have a good balance with that kind of stuff. Like, we're not going to give somebody a product they're not going to be happy with.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're never going to put out something that we ourselves are not proud
Right.
to put out.
Right.
And I think that's why we keep our numbers so low in terms of the amount of jobs we do take on in a year. We don't want to overload ourselves, and because we all have other jobs that pay the bills, I think that's actually why maybe we succeed the way that we do, and why we're continuing to improve, is because it's not.
We don't just see it as a job. We see
Exactly.
it as something that we want to invest in and that we love doing.
Yes.
And you
It's
can tell
art.
with the stuff we put out, like, not to toot our own horns, but the stuff that we put out, there is a lot of like emotion and investment in that. And why would we give something to somebody without that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also it's the connections that we make with the couples and
True,
the families.
getting to know
I
them
think-
and their families and stuff. Yeah.
I think it's more so, you know, with you guys who are the point people in terms of contact. But I mean, you know, when Andy and I show up on the day of or whatever, it's like, these are really cool people, you know, like we have so much fun just being around them, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's something we don't talk about a lot either is, I mean, there's oftentimes, if we're able to, we invite our couples, you know, over to Spike's
I was gonna
house.
say that
You know,
before.
if you know, sometimes people live out of the way and, you know, that's just not, but if they're able to, we like our couples. We invite them over, have some dinner, watch their film for the very first time. That's so cool.
Listen, this job takes years off of our lives, especially me.
Yeah.
But the reason that we keep coming back year after year after year, even with how nerve-wracking it can be to film an event that, you can imagine, especially a newborn film, you you can't redo the birth of a child.
Nope.
Or the first
That's
kiss.
true.
Or
at
the
a
first
wedding,
kiss at a
like-
wedding.
Yeah.
These are moments that are huge moments, and it is stressful. But the reason I think we love to come back year to year is all the friends we get to make.
Yeah.
We have made some really great, close personal friends that started out as clients, our couples, our wedding couples, and now it's just, sometimes I forget with some of these people that we even filmed their wedding
Yeah,
because
I
we're, first and foremost, friends now.
Yeah, I think the best example, Kara and Joe. I mean, like, so we started filming their wedding, and then we did Tate's newborn film.
Yeah.
I mean, and you guys have gone on vacation together, like to the Dells,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's pretty cool to be able to say that
Yeah,
you made all
yeah.
of these, connections with people who were complete strangers
That
before
goes
we
back
worked
to
together.
just not seeing it as a job. You see
Yeah.
it as so much more than that. You know, there's a lot of pride that goes into it, and it's,
Yeah,
to me, that's rewarding. I think
It's
we all
super-
agree on that.
yeah,
I
it's
think we're
very
all on that same
rewarding.
level.
So, if I was to be getting married to somebody, like how would I be going about, getting the Neverfilms crew to be a part, or like walk me through the process, of
well, if you go to www.neverfilmsllc.com
yeah, that's a good
will
place to
find.
start.
and you hit the contact us tab, it will take you to a contact form that you
Smash
can
the
fill out.
subscribe button below. We'll put a link right up here. Yeah, it's easiest to go through our website. That funnels you through our service that we like to use, Honeybook, which is a project organization tool.
Are we trying to
that
get
we use.
Honeybook to sponsor us
Maybe.
right
I don't know.
Good.
It's a great tool. Everything
great.
funnels through there. Once you go to our website and enter in a lead form, a contact form, that will get you into that whole process, and we can send out a digital brochure with all of our pricing and services very quickly. So it's a nice process.
So, I mean, since you guys are like kind of more of the booking people and stuff, like there can be some instances too where we might not feel like it's a good fit, or
That's actually a good point to bring up. Because this is an art form, I think it's not like hiring maybe a plumber or someone to come over and do just general maintenance work on your house. This is a little bit more of a long-term process where we have to work with our clients and our couples a little bit more closely, and because of all the emotions involved in the final product. There has to be a match. There has to be a connection between, not only do we have to think that we jive with them as people, as personalities, but more importantly, they have to think that they're comfortable with us being there on the wedding day to make things work.
Yeah, because if the couple doesn't feel relaxed and doesn't feel like they want to be there with us, like that is going to show in the footage.
In their product.
Yeah, if they're uncomfortable, that you will be able to tell.
I'll never forget when we one of our North Stars for just the people that we admire in this industry is 31 Films in Texas, and they're just fantastic. They do really great work, and I remember them saying one time that they've turned down jobs. They've turned down jobs with big budgets before. So again, for them, it's not about the money. It's if they're
Do you
client
connect?
is willing to give them $15,000, $20,000 to travel to this island and film this amazing, immaculate wedding. But if they don't think that they're a good fit, that final product, I don't think the couple's going to be happy with it, no matter how much money they spend on it.
Yeah.
It's the same concept when you go to make a movie in Hollywood, and you are the director and producer and casting director, and you're trying to get a group of actors onto your film that are going to convey your story the best. You have to click, because if there's any sort of disagreements in terms of just
There has to be
style,
chemistry there.
There's got to be
Right.
chemistry, right?
Yeah.
That's a good
To make
point.
it work. And the same is true for a wedding film.
I feel like we've heard and learned that too from the other like people that we've worked with. Like Joe's a good person to throw out there, and even other photographers. Like the they were able to kind of like spot it on early enough, like, you know what, I think you would be better off or I think we all could be better off if we, went in a different direction and stuff. Yeah. And I think that's an important part of the process, right?
It's a tough conversation to have.
It is.
You certainly don't want a couple to ever think that you're turning them down just because you don't like them. It's not that. So you have to speak delicately when you're saying that, but it's mostly just about whether or not we think that we can give you the best product and the product that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that you guys love me and my future bride Patricia, and we want to go to the next step, what are the steps then? Like, we go through like planning or like?
Yeah, so after the lead form is filled out and we give you the brochure and you look at all of our packages and you choose one. I mean, at that point, that's when we try to hop on a phone call just to make sure, or a phone call. We've done also in person, we've met people out for lunch or.
And that goes back to
what have you. Yeah, that's
whether
kind
or not
of when
personalities
we start to
click and they trust us
Yep.
enough as first of all as human beings before
right.
filmmakers.
Yeah. I think we actually have found that is the best way to do it is when we actually meet face to face or like on a FaceTime call, something of that nature. It just makes the whole process a lot easier from there on out, because then you're no longer just strangers. We're not just showing up on your wedding day. They're like, okay, we've heard your voice. We see you. We trust you. We've talked about our expectations. So
there's like a
that's super
layer
helpful.
of appreciation for the couple.
Yeah.
When you want to get to know them rather than like, oh, I'm just going to go film your wedding. It's like, we want to
Yeah.
know who you are as people and figure out what you want and how we can best.
How we can tailor your film to you.
Correct.
It's not just we're going to show up and do the same cookie cutter thing every single time. It's
Exactly.
like,
It's never a by the numbers process.
no,
ever.
absolutely not. Every couple has a different vibe. They, have different things that they find special and want to be represented
Well, I
in
think
their
that's
film.
what I really like about our company is that we're so organic when it comes to that. There's not like a thing that we have to follow. There's not like a guideline. It's always like we're always, adapting to what we need to do to make it the best thing we can do.
That was one of the most important things I think that I've learned, and I think we learned this somewhat early on, was that you can enter this business and think, okay, the most important thing is that my final product looks high end and professional and Hollywood and whatever, cinematic, whatever word you want to throw out there. But yes, you want it to look polished. You want it to look as good as it can possibly be, but there is nothing more important than actually creating a film that is custom tailored to the client, to the couple, and it feels them.
Yep. And to do that, the easiest way is to actually get to know the couple and hear what they want to see in their film and just get a sense for who they are as people.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a template, and there shouldn't be.
Right.
When you first start, it's hard not to get into that sort of mindset where it's like, well, it's a wedding film. There's a certain way that this thing has to be. It has to feel like a wedding film. And the more films that we do, I think we think to ourselves, this isn't just a wedding film. Just call it a film,
Right.
and make it unique. Hopefully, you go to the movies, to the theater, and you have a choice between different types of movies, and you make a superhero movie one way, but then you make a drama the other way, and they don't all have to fit in the same mold. And that's exactly how we think about each and every separate wedding film.
Yeah, that's why we spend sometimes days trying to pick out a song that correctly, because there's so many different choices. We don't want a country-esque twangy song for a couple that's not
Has a modern
they
urban
have
downtown
a modern
Milwaukee.
modern downtown Milwaukee
Well,
wedding. Those would clash.
Like, I have the appreciation of, like, when we started watching silent films and stuff like that, like, a lot of that goes into what we do now, studying film over certain genres and years and all that kind of stuff. Like, you can see a lot of that in our final products, right? It's like we have an appreciation and an idea of what we're doing, and then we try to make things obviously as best we can, but it goes through a lot of studying that we've done.
Oh, sure. And no matter what era you're talking about, no matter what country the film comes from, it's the basic recipe for a piece of work that succeeds is you have a succession of shots. Which order they go in is up to you, but there is nothing more powerful than taking two images that you can put together, and that simple cut from one image to the next conveys a specific idea or emotion. It sounds very simple, but it's the basic principle of every movie I think that's ever been made, certainly the good ones. And that's why it takes us a little bit longer, I think, than some other videographers around here.
Right, we don't subcontract, you don't outsource anything. It's all like very wholesome in-house type stuff.
If we have to sit there for an entire day just to get 3, 4, 5 shots to fit the right way and convey the emotion that it should be conveying, we'll do it. Don't ask us for a same-day edit.
No.
We don't do those.
Right.
I wish we could, but there would be no way that my brain could handle something like that, and I don't want to.
So many days where you and I have been in the studio, and we're just, I'll put something, a certain shot somewhere in the film, and you're like, no, I think this could go better, and we just keep going back and forth and reworking the whole thing, It's never, oh, this is good enough. It's always, what is the best possible shot to go in this place?
And I've seen you guys color grade stuff too, and it's like you'll
that's a
like
process.
sit there and like for hours making sure the next shot looks. And I don't think, like you were saying before, like a lot of people might not realize what goes into that kind of stuff, but that just kind of shows the dedication to making the best product you can.
I've had people close to us watch us do that process, and they say, man, do you need to spend that much time? Is the couple really going to tell from one shot?
Maybe not, but we can tell.
If we yes, and I think one of the litmus tests for whether or not we think a film is up to our standards, and therefore up to the couple's standards, is by the time we're even halfway, maybe editing the story, are we starting to cry?
Yep, absolutely.
And a lot of times we'll, like we say, we get to know these people so well, we get to know their families, and they're so welcoming and they're so amazing, having us there on their wedding day. And all of a sudden you place a couple of little narrative pieces to that song on that timeline, and the magic starts to form.
You feel the whole day come back to you. And,
even
it's
after watching it 847 times as we're trying to piece this thing together for them, it can get really emotional. And if we start crying, then it's probably
one of my
gonna be
favorite
pretty
parts
good.
is seeing people comment on the videos.
Oh, yeah.
Like family members being like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And it's like that, to me, that is so rewarding to be like, we gave you something that you really, really like. And it's like
something you're going to cherish
there's,
forever.
Yeah, there's almost nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we can pride ourselves on is the quality of our audio and being able to capture that. I know my mother-in-law, like when I show her some of our films, she's like, how did you get that audio to sound like that, So, I mean, that's another thing that, people can entrust in us, that we're going to capture those special moments and those special words that, your family members are sharing with everybody on your special day.
I think about that a lot when I go over and listen to speeches from wedding day, and I think, if we weren't doing this video for them, those speeches are gone forever. Like, you're never going to hear that person say those words to you and your spouse again in that same context. So that's really powerful.
And
to me.
I think that's the very reason that we structure our packages the way that we do. It does start with that highlight film. And I'm speaking specifically about weddings, obviously, that highlight film that's more of a showcase of your entire day from start to finish, whether that be a 3 to 5 minute film, 7 to 10 minute film. But we also have an a la carte system as well, so you can build your own package from the ground up. So we don't have preset packages that you have to choose from. You can pick and choose whatever you want. And a lot of times I think couples do tend to overlook the speeches, and we try as hard as we can to work those narrative elements into your highlight film.
As much as we can.
As much as we can.
Sometimes
but of course,
they work.
Sometimes,
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a little incoherent depending on how many drinks the wedding party's had. But the fact of the matter is there is a time constraint with that cinematic highlight. So if you're thinking about getting a wedding film, especially through us, I would definitely recommend getting the full speeches cut in their entirety from multiple camera angles. It's immersive. It makes you feel like you're there. We make sure that we cover our bases audio-wise, so the sound quality is great. And yeah,
Yeah.
It's another one of those things, like you said, Marlee, it just goes by.
Yeah.
And you,
Blink of an
you'd be
eye.
like, oh, it was awesome, but what did they say?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Like,
I've had so many couples be like, oh yeah, it would be great to see this video because I don't even remember our day. And that's just the nature of weddings, you know? It's a lot happening
And
in the
that's
span of a few hours.
That's what I was
so.
saying before too. Is it's fun to capture elements and angles and all these different perspectives that people don't get to see on the day of. You know, and I think we do a great job with that.
Right. So then they get to appreciate all the hard work that went into planning that wedding.
Right, and how beautiful their day was. Like, I mean, it's just taking the time to see the stuff that people are busy not seeing. You know, especially the bride and groom. It's a blur, you know,
Yeah.
and we're there to capture the things that aren't blurs so you can go back and be like, oh man, that is so awesome.
one of my favorite movie quotes is, "If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist."
Yeah.
Which sounds a little melodramatic, but I mean,
But people think they remember, but they
don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And hopefully we've filmed it and edited it in a way that
Is
makes you remember it
representative
in an even more heightened
Yeah.
sense of magic than even the real day was.
so what's your favorite thing about the whole thing? Neverfilms.
The cake.
The cake?
The cake. What would you say?
I think it's just what we've been. I mean, if I get to watch a couple watch their film for the first time, which we have, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes we'll bring couples over and we'll, you know, premiere their video for the very first time. Getting to watch them watch it, just, I don't know, it makes me proud. I guess and they'll cry and they're just so grateful, and it's so awesome to think that we gave them something that they're going to enjoy for the rest of their lives. I mean, there's really nothing better than that.
I think it's first and foremost that. It's
Yeah.
like giving the couple an amazing product that they can enjoy for the rest of their lives. And I would say the next thing after that is the camaraderie that we have doing it as a team, and like, you know, going through those, because it is stressful during a wedding day, you know, but I mean, that's stuff that we bond over.
Yeah.
So
by the end of the night, we're all
Yeah.
like, wow, can you believe we
Right.
just did that?
And
Like,
going through that with you guys is awesome to me.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing, is that we've been together for so long, and doing this over and over and over is just like, I don't really want to do it with anybody else.
yeah. Same.
I'm in it for the friends, 100%. I'm just
Yep.
trying to make more friends.
Just
we've met so many amazing
Yeah.
couples, like you were saying before, and I mean, what other job can you say is out there where your client becomes your friend almost 100% of the time?
Right.
And that is the reason that we work so hard, is because we value their friendship so much that, I mean, how could you let a friend down at that point? So,
Right.
I mean, when the stakes are that high, you can only do
that's gonna make me cry.
good
Just
work.
talking.
I think what really is awesome to me is that we don't see it as just a job. We value the people for being people. You know, it's not just one of those things where it's like, oh, let's make money off of this wedding. It's like we are here with them, for them.
It's
and
such a human experience. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd echo the same, being around you guys.
Aw.
We often joke around, though, like on wedding days, is that, oh,
Well, you got it.
it's time to Spike to hang out with his 3 other friends.
It is kind of a dream job in a way, though, right? You get to work with people that you love, and you're filming something that's awesome. And like, to me, it's just the whole package.
Yeah. Yep. Totally agree.
And every wedding is different, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
That is very
Yeah,
true.
it's not just another wedding. It's like every wedding is individual in its own way.
Yeah, it has something unique
We've
every
had some.
time.
I had opportunity to experience a couple of different cultures, right? At least, you know, there was the Greek wedding that was super fun.
The Greek wedding was great.
Yeah.
Austin and Lexi, what
Yeah.
a great wedding.
That was
That video was
fun.
amazing.
That was fantastic.
You know, and then you become Facebook friends, and you just get to follow the rest of their lives, and it's like they have
I get to see
kids
them
and-
having kids now, and like, yeah, that's awesome.
If they see this, I was scrolling on Facebook today, and I saw a picture of a baby, and I didn't even see who posted it, and I scrolled past it, and I'm just, oh my God, that looks exactly like Lexi or Austin, one of the two, and sure enough, Lexi had posted it, and it was their little one. So, that's really great to be able to see that as well.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
You know what's really cool too is like Grant and Christina. Remember we did like little like
Boy,
things
we're
at
name
your
dropping
house and,
today.
like,
Yeah,
aren't
we are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but that's how we are. Like, we remember all these people, and Brock and
Yeah.
Ashley,
Yeah.
like, just great couples. But, like, do you remember when Grant and Christina came over to your place, and we did, like, a little workshop, and they're like, yeah, you guys
Yeah.
can just, like,
They were
film
our
us.
models
and it
for
was
the
us
day,
trying to
and
be
that was
better,
really
and they were
fun.
super cool with it. Like, that's awesome to me.
Any shout outs you want to give out to people, or just overall, the people that have been, a part of Neverfilms?
Oh, man.
Shout out to Mike.
Mike's not here.
No.
No, I mean, just all the couples that have put their faith in us to film one of the most
trust
important
us.
moments of their lives.
Yeah.
It's no small job to go hunting for a videographer for your wedding. It is. We know that for you as the couple, it's a tough process. It's a personal process, and you need to find someone that is right for you. And we're here, to help you through that process. So, if you have any questions whatsoever about how that all works, we are more than willing to let you in on some of our experience in the last 8 years of doing this, because it's not easy.
No, it is not.
How's the season looking for us this year? I mean, we really got one early on in January.
We've got prom in April.
Yeah,
In April.
That's going to be different, but I think it could be
yeah,
cool.
that'll be a blast.
Yeah.
Are we
that'll be
gonna
fun.
get a limo too, or all the way from Oshkosh?
Probably should.
Yeah.
Be a
Can it
bad
have a
idea.
disco ball?
Yeah.
I
Or
love this.
get the one that Tom Haverford has, with the hot tub and back.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
my God. That is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. No, yeah, the season's looking great. Every season's great. We're always excited for all the couples who book us. It's like you said, the weddings are different. The personalities are different. So it's always
We get to travel all over Wisconsin.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And we have we're working on a special thing with our friends at Copper Box.
shout out to Copper
yeah.
Box.
Yeah.
Copper Box.
There you go. We're shooting a documentary for them, and it's been going great. And they're absolutely fantastic. Great band.
The 20th anniversary for them, right?
Last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's
Just
kinda
coming
what,
on the heels of that.
That's what kind of brought the idea of getting something or putting something together for them. And yeah, it's been fun. We've shot some pretty cool locations, and
Yeah.
to see it all come together is going to be a
And
real
they're
treat.
awesome people, too.
Oh, they're
Talking
so
with
much
them,
fun.
They're just the coolest.
So much fun.
They are great. And again, friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Friends.
Now, in this case, they were friends first, and then we decided to do this thing together. But
Well, I didn't even know them until and now I feel like
oh gosh,
they're family.
yeah,
I don't know.
they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But that's the other point too. Is that goes back to people think that weddings are the only thing that you can put onto film, where it's that idea of I'll invest in that.
You can pretty much put anything on film.
Yeah, if you just stop and think about the moments that you want to preserve, you can turn anything into a video, and it can be great.
Anything?
We did a celebration of life once.
We did.
But those are also important too.
Yeah.
I know.
And it's you wouldn't think immediately that that's something that you'd want to rewatch over and over, but
Later on.
But the really important part about that was that we sat so many people down for that, and they got to tell their stories of the deceased. And of course, in the moment, maybe it hurts a little bit too much to go back and watch that, but I'm sure maybe by now it would be nice for them to go
to
back
hear
and
all the wonderful things.
hear all those great stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So impactful too. Just being able to share those moments, those thoughts, those feelings, and for someone that has meant so much to you.
Right.
Which is it's a circle of life for us.
Yeah.
Neverfilms
really
LLC,
it is.
life,
Yep.
death, and everything in between.
It's so cool. We
Our
just
new
see it
slogan.
so much more
It's
than it
pretty
really
cool.
is,
Yeah.
We got T-shirts made.
Maybe.
We should do
I
that.
wanna get a
Polos. I
sweatshirt
still have
made.
that Neverfilms polo in my closet.
Yeah, we need merch.
And hats.
Yeah, I really want merch.
Sometimes I'll put the hat on when I'm editing or doing something like that. So
I want some sweatpants. We need to make some
Ooh,
sweatpants.
yeah, with Neverfilms written up the side of the leg.
Black pants with
Maybe
gold
leggings.
writing on the
Yes.
side. That would be amazing.
And to be honest, I think that we usually don't do that stuff. we're always kind of too busy to think about even marketing ourselves, which is kind of the reason that we jumped onto this and wanted to show people our faces and say, hey, this is us. Here we are. We do this thing. We've been doing this thing for almost a decade
For a
now.
while.
But yeah, we're kind of usually flying under the radar, I think, and that's probably, entirely our fault.
Oh, absolutely.
But
We've really just been word of mouth.
So
We're like
busy.
a hidden
just-
gem where
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like I wish more people would find us, and we can offer what we have. You know, it's like pure magic that we want to give them, and it's like, how do you do that? How do you reach out? You can't tell people that they have to get a wedding film. It's like they reach out to you, you know? So
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Joining us, being me.
thanks for doing this.
But
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fun.
well, I can't let you guys go without plugging in Manila and asking you guys what your favorites are here down at the restaurant.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Mine would be. No, maybe that's not that easy. Hold on.
I mean, mine's the katsu
Yours is
sliders.
always the-
They're so
The sliders?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, mine's the Manila rice bowl with sisig,
Oh, yeah.
with the pork sisig. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's my favorite.
God, I feel like you've made me a few good plant-based ones, like tofu. Like it was almost like not like a ramen, but I don't even know what it was called. But
Is it one of the noodle dishes or something?
Probably like
I
a
think so.
bihone
Okay.
or
yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, man.
also the crab rangoon are to
Oh,
die
yeah.
for.
Yeah.
The crab rangoon are
Yeah.
amazing.
You know, my super amateur palate at first, I needed to get used to those. So I think back in the day, I was like, I prefer the traditional American Chinese restaurant. But now that I've had them over the years, man, those are pretty
so
good.
Yeah.
They're
good.
solid, right?
Those are
So
so
good.
good. Those crab rangoon.
Yeah.
And
those
shout
are
out to your
fantastic.
buddy Nuth, right?
Yeah.
That beer is pretty good.
Yeah. Dave Nuth. I apologize. I don't know if I'm butchering. Do you know how to pronounce his last name? Do you know who I'm talking about? He's got a brewery out in Ripon.
Ooh, I don't know.
It's Knuth.
Ooh, it's either Nuth or Knuth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A knife.
Well, because he's got some cool marketing stuff going on his van, and it says something. It sounds like knife, like he has got knife underneath it, or either he has the knife on there or the knife crossed off.
Yeah.
So sorry, Dave, but congrats on your new purchase in Ripon, and that's really cool that he's got a new events hall that he's gonna be moving into, and shifting his brewery operations and stuff down there too. So, speaking of Ripon, that's where you went to school, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And
Alma
Ripon
mater.
Cookie Factory.
Shout out to the Ripon Cookie Factory. That's not there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, this is going off the rails at this point. I think
it
maybe
really
we should
is.
wrap
It's
this
okay.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, check us out. www.
Neverfilmsllc.com.
Yeah, Facebook page, Instagram, Vimeo, YouTube or not?
Not yet.
YouTube. Not yet.
Not yet.
Gosh, we should, but they don't allow you to replace a video after you've posted it and
Yeah.
maintain your likes and your comments.
Yeah.
And there
We-
are some
we-
times
we
where
tend to
we
fiddle
deliver
with-
a wedding film to a couple and they take it, and then we just can't help ourselves. And
gotta tweak
a
something.
week later, we fix a
Yep.
color
Yeah.
here or whatever. So I was kind of working
Don't
on
all
things.
clients get access to MediaZilla though?
Yeah.
They do,
Like, okay.
and we'll update it if we
Yeah.
fix it. So for us, the project
Shout out to MediaZilla, too.
never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, I think YouTube in general would be a good one just for us to throw it on there. Maybe after you get the final edit done.
Sure.
Yeah.
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 I know the process. Like even when we do stuff here for Manila, I'm like, oh,
It would be good though to reach more people that way.
Yeah.
On
Yep.
YouTube.
not
A
a
lot of
bad
people are on
idea.
YouTube, so.
yeah. Maybe more people will discover us.
Maybe.
Be great.
I hope.
That's the hope.
Awesome. Well, do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Andy and I were talking earlier when we were doing our photo shoot that we should have actual like four man cameras for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a better idea.
only when it's a Neverfilms podcast here on Barkada.
Only then.
Yeah.
You don't want a close up of me.
No, that's true.
We found that out
We
early.
know.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in, listening in, watching, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Barkada Podcast. Peace.